The president shot down the compromise proposal a day after House Republicans began to circulate a draft immigration bill that would give some protections to young undocumented immigrants in exchange for a massive increase in border security spending and a large-scale rollback of protections for asylum seekers and unaccompanied child migrants. The legislation, which is not yet final, is the product of discussions between House Republican moderates and conservatives, and it is set for a vote next week along with a restrictionist preferred proposal. Trump told Fox and Friends he was looking at both of them, before saying he would reject the more moderate of the two. The draft bill fulfills one of the objectives moderates pushed for, offering at least some undocumented young people who came to the U.S. as children a new pathway to gain citizenship. But the 293-page draft bill goes far beyond a fix for immigrants known as dreamers, many of whom risk losing deferred action for childhood arrivals protections that were rescinded by Trump. That means it will be up against hardliners eager to frame any legal status for undocumented people as amnesty and immigrant rights activists who argue dreamers shouldn't be held hostage to Trump's efforts to ramp up border enforcement and keep out more immigrants. The draft legislation follows many of Trump's demands, including eliminating the diversity visa lottery, limiting certain family-based visas, restricting access to asylum, and making massive investments in the Department of Homeland Security. The draft bill also sets aside $16.6 billion for Trump's proposed border wall, defined in less grandiose terms as physical barriers, including reinforced fencing, border wall system, and levee walls. The legislation sets aside another $6.8 billion for border security infrastructure, bringing the total investment to $23.4 billion, not including the additional personnel costs. In a proposal likely to cause diplomatic strife, the draft would give U.S. officials the authority to deem another nation a safe third country to which asylum seekers can be deported rather than their homeland without an agreement with the country. This could allow the U.S. to leave asylum seekers in Mexico rather than allowing them into the country to seek relief here. House Speaker Paul Ryan, R. Wisconsin, said earlier Thursday that he does not agree with separation of immigrant families at the border, although he blamed the harsh action on an unrelated court settlement rather than on the Trump administration, which has instituted the crackdown. The bill is unlikely to win much support, if any, from Democrats. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, D. California, condemned the draft bill on Thursday, calling it a cruel codification of President Trump's anti-immigrant agenda and a cruel sham that does nothing to stop President Trump from continuing to separate parents and children seeking asylum at the border. Now that Trump has rejected the compromise bill, it faces an even more difficult road to passage, but the more conservative proposal is unlikely to pass, either. Even if one of them passed the House, the president's preferred legislation would almost certainly die in the Senate, where a bill similarly based on Trump's priorities received only 39 votes earlier this year.